Yeah.
For sure.
Hey.
Okay.
Welcome back to episode 5.
I'm Eliza.
I'm Maya.
And this is it.
It's Unfiltered Faith.
Oh, right, that one too. Yes. Okay, cool. So now we just start talking.
Yep. This was a requested video.
From Uncle Tim, a previous mention.
Yep. So we're just going to talk about all the mission trips we've been on.
Yeah.
I guess.
That's cool. I know. I'm excited. I always saw them as like crazy, like hiking through the Amazon forest trips. And then that's not really possible. And now my dog wants to come inside. We'll see. Sometimes it gets distracted. Yeah, anywho, but yes. Because sometimes Jeremiah, he's talking and he's like, oh yeah, like when my parents were in Venezuela and we were like hiking through the Amazon. And I'm like, what? That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
It sounds so cool.
It does. Adventure.
Right? But yeah, but that's not a mission trip. It's just serving a community in need, really.
I agree.
Which that doesn't really need to be a trip.
Exactly. Local missions is just as important as international missions, I would say. To some degree, yeah.
I would agree. There, I'm hearing, I would consider an argument, but this conversation of like, is tithing to your local church completely like sufficient, or do you need to like tithe but also like understand some goes to the church and some goes overseas? I'm really like thinking about it a lot because I mean Jesus said tithe to your church, so like that makes sense for it to go local. And so I suppose like in theory the church should give some, but I mean not every church is able to do that. Like you have to keep the lights on, you have to pay the people working for you, but I don't know, I've just been thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know with Bedrock, like you can give to certain aspects within the church. So like you can give.
Makes sense.
That's how I've understood it, is you can give to international missions, or you can give to like the building a legacy. Like that's how I always understood it. Maybe I've understood it wrong.
Okay, look at the doohickey.
Yeah.
Look at that. I'm gonna look it up first then. I'm like,
yeah.
We don't know, let's just look it up.
I agree.
But yeah, I think, and that makes sense.
So like if you put a number in.
General. Oh yes.
Yeah.
And there's all the options, which you probably can't see.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, mission trips, missions, care portal.
I like that a lot. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, an international mission. So I guess our church, I don't know if all churches do that, but our church specifically, you can, like on our app, we go to giving, and then you can then give to international missions, or like general.
I didn't know that.
We just learned something new.
Yes. But yes, that makes sense. Because in the past I've watched a video and it's talking about how, I think it's probably like, I don't know the exact percentages, but it's like either 40 or 30% goes overseas missions, and then even like less of that, which is maybe it's only 10%. Like it was a small portion, and then even a portion of that only goes to like unreached people groups. And I was like,
you would think it'd be the opposite,
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but then it's also like looking at the church right there and looking at how like these people in impoverished countries are really giving their all to this, which is so inspiring.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to look at. So take a number out of their book, I guess. Give it all to Jesus.
Yes.
How did we get here?
I don't know what we got here.
Okay.
But we stayed on the missions topic, so
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So do you know when your first mission trip was?
Yeah. I would 2021.
Wow.
Which wasn't that long ago.
No. But like it kind of was.
Right. I mean, it
4
was like
years?
yeah, it was 4 years ago. I was going through an organization with the youth, World Changers.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Radcliffe, Kentucky.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it was like a really small town. If you don't know what World Changers is, it's basically like an organization, and they choose like different towns to go and help.
Mm-hmm.
And then they serve like specific people within that town that seem as if they need the need, if that makes sense. And they go out of the country too, but we stick within the country for the youth specifically. So we went there, and we helped a couple with a baby kind of paint their house and get it looking a little bit better.
How did you go by yourself?
With the youth.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with this one, our whole group stayed together. So we were all working as a whole youth group doing that. It was super hot. And Courtney was about ready to have her baby.
Oh.
Her third baby. But I don't remember like a ton of like gospel conversations or like any of that. I think it was more so like the church was shown.
Mm-hmm.
Of like misconceptions are shown within the church, like we're judgmental and that type of thing. But in this situation, it's very much like we're just here to serve and serve you and love you and not judge you. I think Courtney had more of the gospel conversations with the wife specifically. So yeah, but it was good. It was a long drive. But World Changers in general is a pretty cool organization. You stay at a local church, and then everything is all encompassing. So once you pay for it, once you're there, like meals are included, housing, which you're staying at the church, but that type of thing. And then you have lessons at night, so like a sermon. So it was very cool. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
What was your first mission trip?
My first was with our old church. It was to Bluefield, which I don't know if it was through an organization or anything, but Bluefield, Virginia. And it was like a small town. And I think we stayed at like a Bible college.
Okay.
And so it was like, I don't know, our whole family went. So it reminded me of like the Miss Patty and her family in Kentucky. I don't know the last name. But anyhow, it reminded me of them because that's kind of what our family did. We were like we were the biggest group in our in the group that we went. It was really fun. But it was more like definitely like there's 2 teams. So like one was definitely service based, and then the other was like working with kids.
Okay.
They were like came from very different backgrounds. Where I was like, So I think I learned a lot to where like just because we're in the U.S., we don't all live the same life, and I was open my eyes to.
That's a good thing to learn, though. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. So that was in Virginia. Okay, cool.
It's like on the border of West Virginia and Virginia.
Okay.
Which I think we cross like the state line like every day.
Oh.
It was weird. It was, But yeah.
All right, cool. That's fun.
That was the first. Just yeah. Yeah, we had the opportunity to go back, but I think we would.
Okay. I think that's always a good question of like, would you go back? So that's cool.
And then after that, you went to Nicaragua?
Kentucky again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, different part of Kentucky, almost exactly a year later, so 2022. We went to Madisonville, Kentucky this time. our youth group went, but we didn't stay together the whole week. We split off. So like you were assigned with one other person in your youth group, and then you got your own group. And like to me, I was super excited because the previous year, like yes, I love my youth group, but when you're with them 24/7, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go crazy. And so they made that decision to do that, and it worked out, I would say, a lot better because one, you met new people, and two, like you came back to your youth group at the end of the day and wanted to be with them, which was nice, and you wanted to share about how your day went. I also just liked where we were staying much better. It was just a nicer area. My group was really fun. I'm trying to think, what did we do? We did land. Poor dog.
Oh my. We might need to take care of that.
I will continue.
Yes.
We did landscaping on a house. So we just raked leaves. I think we... Hello!
Oh my. That's how it is.
Sit.
So, yeah.
Good boy.
Oh my.
So we did landscaping. I think we cut part of the tree. Gosh, it was so hot. I think I was partly dehydrated that week.
My.
But it was super fun, and I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember that week in general. It's kind of a blur. But it was just very similar to the year before because it was through World Changers still. So it was just the same dynamic, just a different location. But on the way home, we were in the vans. One of the vans, the van I was in, did not have air conditioning. Like the hottest week of the summer, no air conditioning. So we had the windows down. And we got stuck in traffic for an hour. We were dead stopped on the interstate for an hour with no air conditioning. It was great.
I don't know if great's the way to describe that.
Oh, it was...
Sounds enjoyable.
I mean, we now forever have stories to tell about it.
Yes, an hour. Yeah.
It was rough, but he's looking books. We made it home. But that one was, I would say, better than the first year. But it was just very similar. So.
How many people were on that trip?
From the youth? Oh my goodness. 15 probably.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the first year we only had like 7 because we took 2 minivans. And the second year we had to take 2 passenger vans. So it was fun. And we had like a tiny room for all of the girls to stay in, and I think we had like 8 or 9 girls. And it was a small room too. It was interesting. I honestly don't know how we all fit in there. I just remember Bree's like thing going off.
Oh yeah.
In the middle of the night, and she didn't wake up to it, and her mom is like calling Courtney, like, wake her up, she needs to get sugar in her body.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was. But...
yeah, that would be kind of scary too. Yeah. She loves to tell about it.
Oh yeah, but like I didn't do anything because I'm like, oh.
She'd punch me if I tried to wake her up. Like.
Right, but also I just thought, I don't know what I thought it was, but when you're like in a sleep and you're just hearing a noise, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go back to sleep. The other thing about World Changers is the food is not the greatest. Not that you're going there for good food, but it's like mystery meat food, you know?
Oh, my favorite. Yes.
Anyways, so it was very similar to the first year, so.
Interesting.
But it was fun.
Did you go last year?
I did not. No. Nope.
That's cool.
I don't think I was going to youth during that time.
I think I got confused with the Marywood.
I didn't even do that.
Reese did though, right?
No.
Okay. Well, now,
She went to World Changers though.
Oh, okay.
Yes. What was your next one?
My next one was Slovakia, I think, that's a big jump. I guess I didn't go take a trip for a while. And then I went on that one when I was 14, and I was 2022.
Okay.
And it was like an English camp.
Mm-hmm.
So it was around like a girls' English camp. So it was girls from like 12 to 18.
This is Reese.
This was a year before Reese.
Oh.
Okay. I was actually with Reese's older sister.
Oh, okay, got it.
It was really cool. I wish that I talked more in the beginning of the week. But other than that, I was like, I would definitely go again.
Okay.
Probably just because it was like, I think it was mostly, I was like, oh, like I don't know what to talk to them. And they were all like, oh, I'm not very good at English. We have like a whole conversation with them. And you're like, so is my English bad? Or like, where's the disconnect? I don't understand.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't know. They're all so sweet. Everybody there was. And I mean, that's mostly just because of the culture. Everybody was just kind in nature. But I'd definitely do that again. And I definitely would recommend it. Because everybody was kind.
Were there a lot of opportunities for like gospel conversations, or was it just you teaching them?
So it was teaching English through a biblical perspective.
Oh.
So we were like reading the Bible. And they're like, what does this mean? And I was like, well, I don't really know what the word dwell means, but I'm pretty sure it's just when you hang out with somebody for a really long time. And they'd be like, oh.
You got there.
It's like, yeah, kind of.
I mean, you planted the seeds, and I think sometimes you don't see.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So they were all so studious too, which I mean, granted, it's like a summer camp where your parents send you, and they're like, go learn something. So they were intentionally doing that, but it was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've heard Reese talk about it, and she seemed to really enjoy it too. So that's really cool.
Isn't it? Yeah. So it was just like talking with people.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What was your next? Your next was 2023.
2022, a month after World Changers. I went to Nicaragua.
See, I keep thinking it's about you.
Yeah, it was they were a month apart.
That seems tricky.
It was a lot. It was amazing though. I went with our church through Because We Care Ministries, which was Donald Gillette's.
Oh yes.
It was the first missions team down there since Donald Gillette had passed away. How I understood it, I had never been out of the country, had never been on a plane. And so that was crazy. When I told my dad that I wanted to go, his first question was, what guys are going on the trip?
That's kind of important.
It was valid. I honestly didn't think he let me go, but he did, and it was a really good week. I loved it a lot. We also just had an amazing team. Like it was like half teenagers and half adults, and so that was really cool. It was funny because we got to customs, and Chris was like, so you're gonna, like, I need to get you through customs. Like, you're
right,
kind of my child.
Yeah.
And so I think he took me and one other person, and he had to like tell them his profession and whatever. It was crazy. I was like, what if we don't get into this country? Like, what if
they just don't give us the visa?
Right. But the airport in Dulles, we flew out of Dulles, and I'm just standing there kind of freaking out because, like, you know, first airplane ride. Ezra goes, so yeah, the airline that we chose, like, it's the most crashed airline.
Oh my
I
god.
was like, wow. Thanks, buddy. We made it. We made it there. We made it back. Obviously. I'm trying to.
Which airline?
It was some, like, Hispanic.
Yeah.
It was not one I had ever heard of, so I fully could have believed Ezra. because it would have been believable.
Probably would have just believed him, honestly.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm trying to think. So that week was very much like relational, but also hard because you have the language barrier. And so we would go to a school in the mornings, and then in the afternoons we would go to a village. In the mornings, before we went to a school, we would go on the radio, and we would have like 3 or 4 people share their testimony, and then one person would do a gospel presentation. It was really cool. That was the first time I sang worship music for people.
Wow.
That was how Chris got me on the worship team. Like that was like the big step of, and I think that was one of the biggest things that came out of that trip was I was so like I wanted to stay in the comfortable box of like singing by myself and all of that, and the Lord was like, no, I'm gonna use your music this week. Like, I'm gonna use that talent. And so that was super cool. At the schools it was fun. Like Jeremiah would do a skit, so they did like David and Goliath, or I think they did the boat and Jesus walking on water, I think. And that was fun. Just seeing their reaction was awesome. And then we went to the villages. It was very much just like play with the kids, and then the guys would go and do a study, and then the girls would go and do a study. So when we went to the villages, I didn't feel super like I was making an impact, just because it was like painting nails and playing soccer, and you're not talking, you're just doing, because we only had like 3 translators, I think. And when you have like 20 people on a team, it's kind of hard to keep a conversation going. And then there would be moments where like a kid would be trying to talk to me, and I'd be like, wait, I need a translator because I have no idea what you're saying. And then by the time the translator got there, the kid would get shy and not want to continue talking. And so I think that was like the hardest part of the week. And then our last day there, we went and did a hike up to where we could see Honduras. Oh, wow. So it was beautiful. It was like a hard hike, but it was easy. It was only hard because it was hot. So
it's not close.
Yeah, so it would have been easy had it not been hot. And then our last village we went to was like, Morgan. Oh, she's here.
I think
it is. Shut up. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Maya.
We're just finishing our podcast.
Okay.
And then we'll be ready.
Yeah, no, you're so good.
really excited.
No, I'm excited to see you too. I mean, I was gonna sit and watch. Put this down real quick.
That's cool. Welcome, Morgan. Welcome. We're so excited you're here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the dog hair is crazy.
Yeah,
It doesn't change day to day, just you notice it sometimes.
it's true. Anyways, so the last village we went to was like 2 miles from Honduras. And like we were in these huge trucks and we were like off-roading at that point. It was so cool. But it was like the hardest village.
Wow.
But it was like a really cool drive. Oh, and then we went to we girls. We went to the women's like center that they have there. That was really cool. I almost got left in Nicaragua.
Tell us about that.
Well, it was me, Ella, Lydia, and
Evelyn.
Thank you. I can never remember her name. We were like, oh, let's be smart, do an all-nighter because we had an early plane ride to catch the next morning. We fell asleep, and either we missed our alarms or we never actually set them. To this day, I still have no idea, but we woke up to Chris banging on our door, telling us we should be ready in 5 minutes, or we're gonna be left in Nicaragua. And I was like, oh, that's funny.
Thanks,
You're joking,
Chris.
right? He was like, no, get your stuff. And I was like, oh. Jeremiah was not happy. He was like, I would have left y'all, but like Chris said that I couldn't. And I was like, oh, cool, it's good to know.
He says that, and most of the times I think he's joking, but recently,
I don't think he was, and my mom was convinced he wasn't joking.
I don't know.
Which, yes, it was not. my brightest moment, but that's okay. We made it home.
Right. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I'm glad you need it.
Me too. I'm really
That's-
glad I didn't get left there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I would not do that again. That part. I would go to Nicaragua again.
Mm-hmm.
And then one other cool part was at the end of the night we did God moments, and so it was like, where did you see God move in your life or somebody else's life that day? So that was something that I really enjoyed because you didn't see your team the whole day. Like you just weren't with each other, and then when you came back and you got to talk about your day, that was super cool. But like those are hard trips too because you don't see like the fruit. Like you plant the seed but you don't see it, and so that was super hard as well because you were like, you didn't really know if you helped or do you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I mean you leave them and then unless you're going all the time you don't.
And you're not able to like create the relationship and like the discipleship aspect of that.
Right. So I think that's the hard part about missions in general though, is like there's no, it's hard because it's hard to have the follow through. And so it's like, yes, they said the prayer, but then there's no like accountability after. So it's like, okay, how are you doing? Do you need anything? Can I help you with anything? It's more so just, okay, see ya in heaven, you know.
I made it.
Yeah. So that's hard. But.
Yeah, it is. I think that's when I heard a sermon a while back. It was talking about like adopting specific people in prayer. And it was crazy. So I like kind of just popped in for the one sermon, but it was a whole series and it was talking about like prayer and praying for your community, your family, the church. And I don't know if he had one more, but he was talking specifically about the community and adopting specific people in prayer, praying them by name and like intentionally praying for them, not like, oh Lord, like I hope they make it. It's like not pleading. Well, no, I guess pleading in a way that they come to understand the intentionality and fullness of Christ. But
I like that.
So trying to implement that on a day-to-day, not just like a weekly or bi-weekly. But yes, intentionally praying is sometimes tricky.
It is. I agree.
Yes, we're getting there.
What was your next one?
Technically, Kentucky a couple weeks ago.
Jordan.
See, that was kind of just visiting friends. So like we did the peopling thing, but it wasn't really like a technical mission trip. And so that it was a fun trip, and I definitely think like the reaching out people, but it's really just like watching the grooms reach out to their own people. And so it was actually kind of interesting to watch because they like have lived there and like created such a community. It was like kind of impressive. Not kind of impressive. It was impressive because I can't imagine like going somewhere, not knowing the language, living there for, at minimum they lived there for 6 years, and like creating a community around yourself. It was beautiful. It was so cool. But I witnessed, sure, like I was a walking testimony, but I wouldn't consider that I wasn't serving all my time to this people. Yes. But Kentucky, yes, and that was, I guess, similar to World Changers, where you're serving the community around you and community in need, which I didn't even realize that was like there.
Where in Kentucky were you?
It was like Hazard, so it was like 6 hours. It wasn't very far.
Okay.
And it was like a flood, like a high flood community. Community that got flooded often. And so they're like, oh yeah, like, we were like, oh, do you have like any of this equipment? And they're like, oh, sorry, man, got washed away. And we were like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to ask. And they're like, oh, no, like it just got washed away. It's not that big of a deal. We're like, but it sounds like it should be.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like, but I want to say they're in a constant state of mourning, but I think they're like in a state of like, it kind of is what it is. And we're making it happen. I mean, clearly, they have like, we were working in a school. They have a new school building. They're already in it, which we just got a school building here in Virginia, and it took us a year, 2 years to get into it. And it took them, kid you not, 3 months, 3 weeks to get into the school building, and they are in it. And we were just working on it over their spring break, and it was like,
Was it
crazy.
so new school post flood?
So it's an old it's old public school building, and they repurposed it for a private school building. And it's legit like on this, you know, like a city on a rock. It's a little on a hill. It like doesn't, well, it probably could flood, but they were like last flood and went up to the front steps. They didn't go any further. And I was like,
Wow.
isn't that so cool? Like the Lord's like, oh, let me just like draw the line and you can touch it.
Yeah.
Oh no. This is
Cool. Okay.
But it was like really cool to watch. And like also talk and great people. Talk about things like that. That's not all. Yeah. Never mind, that's Hannah. It's not fun. But yes, that was Kentucky a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
And then, yeah. But yeah, that was all the things. I think for me, like being more intentional was like talking to people and like seeing the anticipating the need. I would say like those are the two things that like looking back I'd probably would be more intentional.
Yeah. Was there ever, because when I've gone to Asheville, there's moments where it just hits me of like culture shock in a way. Was there ever that moment of just like, wow, these people have been through so much trauma and hurt and loss, like
in Kentucky? I would say so. It was more of like a shock of like, oh my goodness, you were just talking about how this specific flood like cost like, I don't know, lives. And when you're like, and then you talk about it not lightly, but they're willing to just like, oh, it's because of that. Or like, I think it just shocks us more than anything.
Yeah.
It seems more.
I think like, yeah, I mean in Asheville people are still like, they're grieving and now they have PTSD and all of the things that come with that. But it's so interesting because a lot of them are so just like, but God's got it. God's still got a plan. Like He's still good, even though we've gone through all of this loss and hurt and trauma. And like, some people don't even have closure, right? Because some people don't even know where their family members are and things like that. And it's like, how are you talking about this so casual?
Right.
I don't know. It's crazy. Because I mean, I'm listening to it and I'm just like, don't cry, you know? But I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. I think one of the things I was thinking about earlier, and I think it shocks me more than anything, but it was like such a small town, such a rural town. We were like, oh, like, what's your mailing address? I think we want to like send you stuff. And she goes, oh, we're P.O. Box 1. I found that hilarious. P.O. Box 1. We're P.O. Box 113 over here, and I thought that was a low number. Okay, 1. And I was like sitting there at dinner, and it's kind of late in the week where you're like find everything funny, and I was just like laughing, and everybody's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "She said P.O. Box 1." I honestly might have jumped that.
He's like putting the leg.
Did you dream that?
I am unsure at this moment. How are the actual trips? So you went at least 3 times, right?
Yep, 3 times.
3 times, one with the youth group, which was like not a coming of age moment, but like, oh, not everybody is going to work day and night.
Yes. So I've been to Asheville 3 times. First 2 times we helped a local camp there called Camp Cedar Cliff kind of get ready for campers to come in. So we just stacked wood, cut wood for days straight, which was like good, but also when you're going to a town that's hurting so bad, you want to be in the town that's hurting.
Right.
Whereas in this situation, I felt like I was doing something, but then it was also like, this is also something that can get done over long periods of time. It doesn't need to be done now. And if it wasn't done now, it wouldn't really hurt anything. I think that was kind of where I was at. And obviously, like, I know it helped them, and so I'm glad. But the 3rd time we went, we helped in the community of Asheville. We were specifically in Swannanoa, which is one of the towns that got hit the worst. And we helped one Maine couple. They had their house flooded, and when we got there, we took out like the subfloors, and then we took out the insulation from underneath the subfloors, and then mucked out. Yeah. I wasn't as much in the mucking out part because we ended up going to another house during that time, but it was crazy. Like, we got to talk to the homeowners, which was really cool. They didn't talk about the flood, which honestly I wouldn't have either, but just talking to the guy, he was talking about his grandfather and like being in the military and all that, which was super cool. And they were like right at the river, so like if the river was here, like their house was like 2 or 3 houses back. You couldn't really see where the water came, so in my mind I'm like, how high did it come? Like, did it come all the way up, or did it just go to like the floors? I'm not really sure. But the house right on the river, she came to like get a package, and we were talking to her, and we're like, so like, can you get started on your house? And they're like, no, it's completely unsafe because of now the flood zones have shifted and all of this other stuff. And a lot of people don't even have a house because of the way the river completely shifted. Like the river was here, it's now here. And so you have a plot of land, but it is now the river. And so you're like, okay, we're paying on this plot of land, what do we do with it? Because it's a river. But that was a really cool trip. And then we finished out our last day. We were at a house that was finishing up. And so we painted, and that was super cool. Just like starting on a house that's just studs. Is that what we call it, studs? No.
I think so.
I'm not a construction person.
No, with like the structure, with it just being the 2x4s.
Yes, it was down to the 2x4s, and then going to another house like right across the street that was like almost done. So it was like, okay, you're gonna get here. Like, that was really cool. But we were talking to one of Jen's friends that now lives there, and she was just saying how now her kids have PTSD. Like, a storm comes and they just freak out, and a lot of them like didn't physically lose friends, like passing away, but lost friends because their friends lost everything, so they just moved away. And so they're going through like the grieving process of, no, they didn't die, but they just moved away.
Yeah.
So they have a lot to get done there, and the question I'm always asked is, so have they made any progress? And it's like, some people yes, some people not at all. So it's just very mixed, and it's hard. But with those things, like, a lot of times it's like people come for like a month and then they don't come anymore. People just keep coming and helping and serving, which is super cool. I mean, you really see the hands and feet of Jesus there.
That's so cool.
So, but yeah. That was kind of Asheville in a nutshell.
It's really cool.
You should go.
Yeah, I want to figure it out. Yeah. But yes. Okay. How do we usually close?
With a song suggestion?
Oh. Do you have any? That one that you sing at church the other day. Or at youth group. Look, she went from singing in Nicaragua to now singing for our youth group. Fucking stop her.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Do I have a song recommendation? You know what? Yeah. It's an old one, but it's so good. Forever Rains. I love that song. Anyways.
I like Blessed by Cade Keller and Lindsay Paris. I think.
Cool.
Yes. That's it.
It was a pretty straightforward episode. We stayed on track.
I'm pretty impressed.
I think we had a waffle brain today. Just say
It's so good. We're wrong about.
It was waffle brain today. But yes, anyways. Go serve your community. Go serve internationally.
I think processing and watching people process is probably important.
Yep. Bye guys.